Bannon, impeachment, wow. They seem pretty hell-bent on it. They were launching the inquiry before they even had read the transcript of the call. What's your reaction to it?
Well, they haven't even had a vote. Look, they've been hell-bent on this since 2:30 in the morning on November 9th. They've never taken responsibility. The reason they lost the election and Donald Trump won is the upper Midwest. The previous segment we just had on China is the reason that Donald Trump's president of the United States. He reached out to working class people that understand the manufacturing jobs have gone, their lifestyles changed, the opioids are there. Hillary Clinton was too busy to do that. That's why Trump's president. That's how he won Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Iowa. And they've never accepted responsibility for that. So they've had the nullification project started immediately. Russia and just everything, they've thrown up everything at Trump consistently. Mm-hmm. And now they've got this phone call or the situation in Ukraine. My point to them is, hey, if you want full transparency, if you want full sunshine on everything that took place in crossfire hurricanes, everything that's taken place with Biden, everything that took place with President Trump's calls to Ukraine, bring it. Let's see it. Let's have a full drill down on exactly everything that went on. Okay?
But that's not what they want.
That's not what. Listen, I'm not somebody who wants to relitigate 16. Hey, we won. Let's go on to the next one. But if they want to do it, and if this is what they're trying to do, let's do the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And this is what I think. I think President Trump's frustration is he sees, quite frankly, what a poor job Bannon and Clapper and the rest of these guys did about China. China is the greatest existential threat the country's ever had. And the intelligence on China was terrible. That's why Trump had to come in and stand up to him right away. We've been mollycoddling China for decades. And part of this is the national security apparatus was not focused on it. This is what Donald Trump did.
Were they focused on other things? I mean, the concern, right, is that they were out there trying to figure out what his campaign was doing.
The focus has been CENTCOM and other things, but it hasn't been on the central threat. Also, remember, part of this whole reaction, part of what was going on in Ukraine is because of the call, is because of what happened early in the administration when the Australian call and the Mexican call with the heads of those two countries were told the entire transcripts were leaked. I think they were in the Washington Post. Right? And no whistleblower came forward then. Both of those politicians, Turnbull in Australia and the Mexican president, were all out of office, shortly thereafter. One in a landslide defeat, part of it because of the release of the call and some of the sensitive information. And so the security apparatus, to me, has been, and I'm not a guy who said, hey, deep state or all this stuff. Right. It's in your face. The national security apparatus of the United States has essentially failed the United States. That's why Donald Trump had an America First policy that people backed up, and he's not going to back off it. They can come at him any way they want. He is not going to back off this. That's why I'm so proud of him. He's standing up. He's standing up to China. He's standing up to Iran.
He's got a lot against him. I mean, he's got
everybody again. He's got Wall Street. He's got the corporations. He's got the mainstream media. He's got the Democratic Party. Okay, they're all against him, but he's fighting back. And no offense, if you read this call, give me a break. We've gone through this 3 times before in American history. Once after the Civil War, the bitterness that was there. Once after Vietnam, the bitterness that was there with Nixon. And then with Bill Clinton. 3 times in history. This is the 4th time. And you're telling me that these calls rise up to that level?
Here's the question, though. How do you even do your job if you're president of the United States and you've got people within your circle that don't want you there, maybe do want to take you down? So you have this whistleblower who, by the way, wasn't on the call. This is like, secondhand information, which somehow then turned into the whole whistleblower complaint. But you've got a whistleblower who wants to take you down. I mean, I would think that this is somewhat of a bad precedent for future presidents.
It's a terrible precedent. Even releasing the other day, I know why the president had to do it. It's a terrible precedent to release these. How these, like I said, Turnbull and the Mexican president are gone. One of the reasons because of those transcripts. You can't have these transcripts and continue to conduct foreign policy. We were the ones that said, hey, we've got to restrict how many people had it. I think at the time it was like hundreds of people got it. We restricted that, so it only had to be a core group of people. My question is, for the people that gave it to the whistleblower, if you had such a problem, I'd like to see if you went through the chain of command and told, particularly if you're in the NSC, did you go to your chain of command and talk about this? Was this a problem? And if they're going to have this blitzkrieg, because right now they have the political, they have the messaging, they have the legal, they have the media, and they're driving to a point. Okay, my point would be slow this whole thing down. This is not going to be Nancy Pelosi's choice or Adam Schiff's. This is the American people. Nothing is more serious than nullifying an election, and that's what we're talking about. This is nullifying a presidential election. If you want to do that, the American people need to take their time, and I think will take their time and weigh and measure what's out there.
But how do you slow it down right now? I mean, the train's left the station.
I don't think the train's left the station. You have Adam Schiff calling some witnesses. I think there are many different alternatives you have to slow this down, and not to do anything unfair, but say, hey, we want to adjudicate this properly. We want to make sure all the information is out there. Like I said, if they want transparency, if they want sunshine, I say bring it. Let's go back to Crossfire Hurricane, which I'm not a proponent of going to do, but hey, if that's what they want to do, let's go back to that. Let's go back to Steele. Let's take the whistleblower. Let's take Joe Biden, not just in Ukraine, which to me is a sideshow. Joe Biden in China with his son. What did Joe Biden do in China? What did Joe Biden do about the islands that are now built in the South China Sea? He looked the other way. What did Joe Biden, how is he advising Obama? His son got $1.5 billion in a private equity fund from the Bank of China that reports directly to the Chinese Communist Party, our mortal enemy. Let's go through all of it. If that's what they want, let's do it. But let's take our time. Let's take our time and let's do it, and let's see where the American people come out. Because I got news for the Democrats. If we go through all of this and take our time, okay, the 40 seats you won, those people are going to have signed, if they vote to impeach him, I think when all the evidence is out there, they will have signed their political death warrants. And they just won. They've taken the House. They have control, but they've put it all on the field. And if that's what they want to do, let's vet the whole thing. But let's take, every night at the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, another leak, another break, slow the train down and let the American people have a full vetting of this.
How bad is this for the country?
Well, I think it's terrible for the country. Listen, if you fully vet everything, I think you start to get some changes. I think you start to see why Biden and these people are taking money from foreign countries like China. I think you start to see what these intelligence apparatuses were doing during the campaign. Foreign intelligence apparatuses. If you want the 40 subpoenas that the House Intelligence Committee put out under Devin Nunes that Rosenstein never came back with, let's get all that. If they want it, let's get it all on the table. Okay, and let the American people judge. In that regard, I think it will be fine. Right now, the way they're doing it, this blitzkrieg, particularly what's going on in China and China's partner Iran, it couldn't come at a worse time. But you know what? That's not going to stop them. Right now, what they want to do is nullify the election. They think they have a weak field, and they're prepared, it's like in chess, they're prepared to sacrifice a rook to take down a king.
Sure. Well, Joe Biden's gone.
They will throw Biden away, right? They'll throw Biden away to get to Trump and hope Elizabeth Warren, or I even think Hillary Clinton or Bloomberg or some centrist comes in here and takes. Oh, I think
Hillary Clinton might be back to run again.
Hillary Clinton's doing a whole thing, a media this week for a book she wrote with her. But she came out yesterday, said he's it's an illegal president, illegitimate president. He's got to be removed from. He's a clear and present danger. The Chinese Communist Party is not a clear and present danger. Donald Trump's a clear and present danger. She's running. She's just trying to decide how to fit her way in.
Why doesn't he have more people internally that are protecting him? I would just ask that. Is there nobody on the call that could have said, don't go there,
Well, I think he's got a certain house style. That's why he's Donald Trump, and that's why he's here. That's why he's been able to pull, to push back on China. He's got a certain house style. I think the team is fine. I think Stephanie Grisham, Kellyanne, Mick, I think they got a fine team. They just got to get a little organized. And I think number one is let's slow down. Let's get it all on the table. You want to get it on the table? Let's go. Because Trump can play that game. And I think if that's what they want to do, let's do it and let the American people decide. This is not for Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic caucus to decide. This is for the American people to decide. And I believe the American people will weigh and measure this, and I think it will be catastrophic for the Democrats.
Wow. Some good advice from Steve Bannon. Thank you.
Good
to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Coming up, everyone, Antifa protesters caught harassing an elderly